Many people know what is called the Miracle on Ice, which is widely considered one of the greatest moments in sports history and hockey history. Hi, my name is Jordan Sherman, and I'm going to inform you about hockey history. I've been a fan of hockey since I was 5 years old and have been a season ticket holder of the Dallas Stars for the last 2 years. This jersey is even a Dallas Stars jersey that they wore in the early 2000s. I feel that if more people knew about hockey history, it could help the game grow into becoming the third biggest sport in the United States, drawing in new fans. It is believed that ice hockey, was adapted from field hockey. Field hockey is believed to have started 1,000 years before Jesus Christ even walked the earth. For some of y'all that don't know what hockey is, basically they take this puck, which is this is a game-used puck from the Dallas Stars, and they shoot it down and back to the ice, trying to score in 2 goals on opposite sides. It's much like soccer, but it's a little bit more physical, and it's on ice, and the goals are a little bit smaller. Hockey would start in the 1840s in England, but the first organized game would not start until 1875 in Canada. From there, the game would start to grow and leagues would start to form. In 1917, the NHL, which is the professional league today, would start. Ice hockey would even become an Olympic sport in 1920. The start of the NHL would take ice hockey from Canada and start in America as well, but they would start with 4 teams, mostly in Canada, and they would grow from there. The NHL would struggle at first. They would grow from 4 teams to 10 teams, back down to 8, and then back down up to 10. But when the Great Depression and World War II came, teams had to fold, and only 6 teams stayed. This is what is called the original 6 era. From 1942 to 1967, there would only be 6 NHL teams: the Boston Bruins, the Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs, Chicago Blackhawks, New York Rangers, and Detroit Red Wings. From that era, it would be only 6 teams controlling the NHL. But once 1967 came around, the NHL would continue to grow, and it would be so big that they had to expand because they wanted to grow in extra markets and grow the game. So in 1967, they expanded, adding a couple teams, and they would keep adding teams until 1979, where there would be a total of 21 teams. So they would go from 6 teams in 1967 to 21 in 1979. In 1980, the greatest sport moment ever in U.S. history happened. That is when an inexperienced, young, underdog American Olympic team would go up against the Soviet Union. They would beat the Soviet Union 4-3. However, the Soviet Union was 100% favored chance of winning. There was no chance for the United States to win. But that is why this is considered one of the greatest moments in sports history, is because an unexperienced, super young hockey team would beat the much favored, and we were in the Cold War with the Soviet Union. So it would be considered one of the greatest U.S. sports moments, and there is even a movie about it called Miracle. From there, the NHL would grow exponentially in the 90s. You had some of the greatest players ever to play hockey in the 90s, and even they would grow to 30 teams. You had players like Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Mike Modano. I mean, that's just some. Brett Hall. These are players that have NHL records that will never be broken. That would come in the 90s, growing the game majorly, drawing in new fans, younger fans. From there, the game would even grow continuously. In the early 2000s, the NHL would add exciting new ways to play the game. They would take the regular indoor stadium game and go outside to how the game was originally played. They would have a game called the Winter Classic. This game has even came to Dallas. It came in Dallas in 2020. There was 85,000 fans that filled the Cotton Bowl at the State Fair. I was there. It was one of the greatest games I've ever been to. The NHL has even tried growing the game around the world, and they've played games in Europe, Japan, China, Australia, Puerto Rico. They have plans to play in Mexico in a couple years, and just keep growing the game around the world. The NHL has even added 2 new teams in the last 5 years, the Las Vegas Knights and the Seattle Kraken. They plan to add a team in possibly Houston, Salt Lake City, Kansas City, and growth that would grow the game majorly, adding new teams and adding new markets. They even want to grow the women's hockey and start trying to grow the women's professional hockey league. The game has grown tremendously within the last 100 years, and it will continue to grow with the new adding teams and the growth with the young kids and women. I hope I've convinced you to give hockey a chance and to watch it, since I've informed you about hockey history. Thanks.